how are you all? I'm sure you all are fine and taking good care of yourself. So children, let's begin with our very first chapter, which is Unit 1 History Introduction, Tracing Changes Through 1,000 Years. Points to study: sources of information, new and old terminology, feudalism in early medieval India, regions and empire, old and new religions, historical trends. Introduction: as compared with ancient India, a large number of literary sources are available for the medieval period. They provide a more reliable information and insight about the life of the people of the medieval period. These sources inform us of the administrative setup of the rulers, their theory of kingship, military achievements, etc. They also reflect the state of cultural, economic, political and religious institution. While utilizing these sources, we should keep in view the following points. Absolute historical truth is elusive. Absolute impartial history is rather impossible. Every kind of prejudice, caste, faith, personal, racial, regional and religious, etc., posed by the historians has exercised some influence in recording the events and facts. All possible efforts need to be made to shift facts from fictions. Since most of the books were written on the commands of the rulers or by themselves, they contain material which has to be treated with utmost care and caution. Different sources need to be used while arriving at some definite conclusion. तो बच्चों, एंशंट जो टाइम था हमारे इंडिया का, उसके इतने सोर्सेज हमें देखने को नहीं मिलते जितने हमें मेडाइवल पीरियड के सोर्सेज देखने को मिलते हैं. इस टाइम पे जितने राजा हुआ करते थे, वो किस तरह से राज किया करते थे, उनका एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन कैसे हुआ करता था, कैसे वो लोगों के साथ व्यवहार करते थे, किस तरह का उनका किंगशिप हुआ करती थी, उनकी मिलिट्री, उनकी अचीवमेंट के बारे में हमें मेडाइवल पीरियड में पता चलता है. लेकिन सोर्सेज को यूटिलाइज करते हुए हमें कुछ पॉइंट्स को अपने दिमाग में रखना चाहिए. कौन कौन से पॉइंट है ये है कि हमारा जो एब्सोल्यूट हिस्ट्री है, उसका जो ट्रूथ है वो इलूसिव होना चाहिए. एब्सोल्यूट इम्पार्शियल हिस्ट्री जो है वो इम्पॉसिबल है कलेक्ट करना. हर तरह के प्रेजुडाइज, कास्ट, फेथ, पर्सनल, रेशियल, ये हमें उस टाइम पे भी देखने को मिलता था. और जितने भी हमारे पॉसिबल एफर्ट हैं वो हमें हमारे फैक्ट के साथ जोड़ते हैं. ठीक है. नाउ सोर्सेज ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन. The two main sources of information of this period are the literary and archaeological sources. Literary sources: state papers and official or private documents written in Persian provide much information for reconstructing the history of the period. Though most of them have been lost, those found in private collections threw much light on the administration, economy and society of that time. The Delhi Sultanate and Mughal periods have rich textual sources of history. Several books written by people in that period have come down to us. These include travelogue, religious books, memoirs, biographies and official histories. Some of most important of them are described below. तो बच्चों, सोर्सेज और इन्फॉर्मेशन क्या थे उस टाइम के? तो यहाँ पे दो सोर्सेज हमें देखने को मिलते हैं जो मेन है. एक है लिटरेरी एंड दूसरा है आर्कियोलॉजिकल. तो पहले हम बात कर लेते हैं लिटरेरी सोर्सेज के बारे में. स्टेट पेपर्स और ऑफिशियल या फिर आपके प्राइवेट डॉक्यूमेंट्स होते हैं जो उस टाइम पे लिखे गए थे, ये सोर्सेज माने जाते हैं कि किस तरह के उस टाइम पे लैंग्वेज यूज़ की जाती थी, किस तरह के पेपर्स वगैरह बनाए जाते थे, किस तरह से वो लोग लिखा करते थे और किस तरह से एक दूसरे से वो कम्युनिकेट किया करते थे. Religious composition. These include composition of the Sufi and Bhakti tradition. Most of them are poems and sayings of the Sufi and Bhakti saints compiled by their followers. There are also biographies of the saints written by their followers. Bhakti literature. The Nalayira Divya Pradbandhan is a collection of songs, poems written by the Alvars, devotees of Vishnu. The Song of Andal, devotees of Vishnu, and Karaikal Amayar, devotee of Shiva, part of the Nayar tradition, are still sung. In northern India, similar collected works have survived. The songs of Mirabai, Surdas and Chaitanya. तो बच्चों उस टाइम पे भक्ति लिटरेचर भी काफ़ी चरम सीमा पे थी, क्योंकि जितने भी आपके सूफी संत हुआ करते थे वो अपनी पोएम्स वगैरह लिखा करते थे, कुछ राइटिंग्स वगैरह लिखा करते थे, नोवेल्स वगैरह लिखा करते थे. तो इससे भी उस काल के बारे में हमें पता चलता है, उस ज़माने के बारे में हमें इन्फॉर्मेशन मिलती है. Sufi literature. There are treatises about Sufi philosophy and practices, collections of saying of the saints, collected written works, usually letters and biographical accounts of the saints. Poets like Amir Khusrau and Shaikh Muhammad Jaisi also belong to the Sufi tradition. Both Sufi and Bhakti writings are in the local languages and reflect the common man's life of that age. Besides these, there are works that do not fall into any religious category. These include the work of Kabir. There are also the Sikh texts, the Adi Granth Sahib and the Guru Granth Sahib composed in the medieval age. तो बच्चों उस टाइम पे जो सूफी संत हुआ करते थे या जो दरबारी वगैरह हुआ करते थे, जो राइटर हुआ करते थे, वो राजाओं की बायोग्राफी वगैरह खुद से लिखा करते थे, और लेटर्स वगैरह जो कम्युनिकेशन का जो माध्यम हुआ करता था वो भी रिटर्न में हुआ करता था. इसके अलावा जो कालिदास हुआ करते थे वो रिलीजियस गुरु कहलाते थे और वो कुछ धार्मिक वगैरह लिखते थे और कुछ पोम्स वगैरह भी वो लिखा करते थे. Chronicles. Chronicles have provided ample information with regard to the history of medieval India. Minhajus Siraz-e Tabaqat-e-Nasiri gives useful information regarding the slave dynasty of Delhi up to the year 1267 AD. Ziauddin Barni's Tariq-e-Firoz Shahi gives the history of the first 6 years of Firoz Shah Tughlaq's reign. Firoz Shah's own composition Futuhat-e-Firoz Shahi gives a record of his administrative achievements. Assamese Futuhu Salatin deals with the period extending from the rise of the Ghaznavid to the reign of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. अब बच्चों उस टाइम के कुछ लोग जो राजा वगैरह हुआ करते थे वो खुद की ऑटोबायोग्राफी लिखा करते थे या दूसरों से लिखवाया करते थे. तो उसमें वो अपने शासनकाल के बारे में डिस्क्राइब करवाते थे, अपनी जीवनी के बारे में, अपने बर्थ से लेकर अपनी जवानी तक कहाँ कहाँ उन्होंने शासन किया, कहाँ कहाँ उन्होंने युद्ध लड़े, कहाँ कहाँ उनकी अचीवमेंट हुई. तो ये सब भी वो अपनी ऑटोग्राफी में मेंशन करते थे. बाबर्स फेमस मेमोरियर originally written in Turkey give important information about the nature environs of the country. The memoirs of Jahangir are an excellent source of history. Gulbadan Begum's Humayun Nama gives insight into the affairs of the royal harem. Abdul Fazl's N.A. Akbari and Akbarnama are two most important works dealing with the reign of Akbar. Another important contemporary work is Badaयूं's Muntakib-ul-Tawarik. Two official chronicles, i.e. Padishah Nama and Alamgir Nama, cover the reign of Shah Jahan and the early years of Aurangzeb's reign. For the later part of Aurangzeb's reign, there is Masir-e Alamgiri. Khafi Khan's Muntakib-ul-Lubab supplies us with many facts which were earlier suppressed by Aurangzeb. The defeat of Persian chronicles are lack of objectivity, bias towards royalty, lack of interest in कॉमन पीपल. तो जितने भी मुगल एम्परर हुआ करते थे वो भी अपनी ऑटोबायोग्राफी वगैरह मेंशन करवाते थे, खुद से लिखते थे या दूसरों से लिखवाते थे और अपनी अचीवमेंट के बारे में उसमें मेंशन करते थे. फॉरेन ट्रेवलर्स. Travelers from abroad gives us interesting information regarding the political, social and economic condition of the medieval India. Al-Baruni's account of India during Sultan Mahmud Ghazni's conquest in his Kitab-ul-Hind is considered to be the first finest foreign account of medieval India. Marco Polo, who visited South India in the later part of the 13th century, has also given useful information. The best known foreigners who visited India during the pre-Mughal period were the Moroccan Ibn Battuta and Italian Niccolo Conti, who visited Vijayanagar around AD 1294. A Persian Akbar Razak, who was the ambassador of Shahrukh of Samarkand at the court of the Zamorin of Calicut and visited the Vijayanagara kingdom around AD 1442, and a Russian Anthasius Nikitin, who visited South India in AD 1470. From the 16th century onwards, the European travelers who came to India have left a mine of information for us. The works of Jesuit missionaries and European travelers like Barbosa, Ralph Fitch, Rowe, Tavernier, Barnier and Manuki have described the condition of the people, the state of trade and commerce and the magnification of the court and the camp. तो बच्चों जो राजा वगैरह हुआ करते थे, राज करते थे, वो तो लिखते ही थे, साथ साथ जो फॉरेनर्स आते थे हमारी कंट्री में वो भी हमारी कंट्री के बारे में एक्सप्रेस करते थे, अपनी बुक्स में वो बताते थे कि क्या कंडीशन है इंडिया की, कैसे लोग वहाँ पे रहते हैं, समाज में क्या क्या कुरीतियाँ वगैरह फैली हुई, तो ये सब अपनी बुक में वो मेंशन किया करते थे. नाउ आर्कियोलॉजिकल सोर्सेस. These include buildings and monuments, inscriptions and coins, etc. Ancient buildings provide very important information about medieval India. Coins gives us valuable information. तो बच्चों आर्कियोलॉजिकल सोर्सेज जो होते हैं, जैसे कि उस टाइम के मॉन्यूमेंट्स हुआ करते थे, कॉइन्स हुआ करते थे, बिल्डिंग्स वगैरह हुआ करती थी, तो इनसे हमें उस टाइम के बारे में पता चलता है. Coins have given useful information regarding the state of polity and economy during the Sultanate and Mughal periods. The coins of Muhammad bin Tughlaq have revealed much about his reign and his kingdom. The coins of provincial rulers such as those of Bengal, for instance, with their dates and mint marks, are especially valuable as resource of information not fully dealt within the general Chronicles. कॉइन्स जो थे उस ज़माने के वो भी हमें बताते हैं कि किस तरह के जो शासक हुआ करते थे वो अपना किस तरह का कॉइन जो है वो जारी करते थे. यहाँ पे आपको फोटोज़ भी देखने को मिल रही है, पिक्चर्स देखने को मिल रही है किस तरह के कॉइन्स उस टाइम पे हुआ करते थे और छपा करते थे. एपिग्राफिक सोर्सेस. इंस्क्रिप्शंस आर ऑफ ग्रेटर यूज फॉर द प्री मुगल रेदर देन द मुगल पीरियड. द रेंज ऑफ द बंगाल सुल्तान शाम्स उद्दीन फिरोज, Alauddin Firoz and the Nizam Shahi king Baran have been established by studying inscriptions alone. The Bengal Sultanate, especially from the 14th to 16th century, has been understood solely on the basis of the epigraphic sources. In many instances, the full title of the kings and queens and the history of minor dynasty have been revealed by studying inscriptions. The inscription that reveals India's medieval history throw light on the political aspect as well as the social life. तो बच्चों जो इंस्क्रिप्शन हुआ करते थे उस टाइम के, उससे हमें पता चलता है कि कैसे उस टाइम पे सोशल लाइफ हुआ करती थी, कैसे उस टाइम पे इकोनॉमिक लाइफ हुआ करती थी. Monuments testifies to growth of material prosperity and the development of culture. They do not help us much in constructing political history. मॉन्यूमेंट्स उस टाइम के जो मीनारें हुआ करती थी, जो मकबरे वगैरह हुआ करते थे, जैसे आपने दिल्ली में देखा होगा कुतुब मीनार, तो कुतुब मीनार आज का बना हुआ नहीं है. कुतुब मीनार जो है मुगल सल्तनत के टाइम का बना हुआ है, जो हमें उस टाइम के बारे में बताता है, उन राजाओं के बारे में अच्छे से डिस्क्राइब करके हमें समझाता है. New and old terminology. Historians have to be careful about the terms they use because they meant different things in the past. Take for the example a simple term like foreigners. It is used today to mean someone who is not an Indian. In the medieval period, a foreigner was any stranger who appeared staying in a given village. Someone who was not a part of the society or culture. A city dweller therefore might have regarded a forest dweller as a foreigner. But two peasants living in the same village were not foreigners to each other, even though they may have had different religious or caste backgrounds. Take the term Hindustan, for example. Today we call it India, the modern nation state. When the term was used in the 13th century by Minhaj-e-Siraz, a chronicler who wrote in Persian, It meant the areas of Punjab, Haryana, and the lands between the Ganga and Yamuna. He used the term in a political sense for lands that were a part of the domination of Delhi Sultanate. The area included in this term shifted with the extent of the Sultanate, but the term never included South India within it. By contrast, in the early 16th century, Barbar used Hindustan to describe the geography, the fauna, and the culture of the inhabitants of the subcontinent. तो बच्चों पुराने टाइम से हमारे जो कंट्री का नाम था वो इंडिया नहीं रहा था. जितने फॉरेनर्स यहाँ पे आते थे, जितने शासक यहाँ पे राज करते थे, उन्होंने इंडिया को अलग अलग नामों से बुलाया था. कुछ लोग साउथ इंडिया को उसका पार्ट नहीं मानते थे और नॉर्थ इंडिया के ही कुछ पार्ट को वो एक नाम जो है, एक देश जो है वो घोषित करते थे. Feudalism in early medieval India. Feudalism became an important feature of the political system of North India between 750 and 1200 AD. This was because the authority of the rulers have been limited in many ways. The ministers were appointed on the hereditary basis and became all-powerful. They were numerous feudal chiefs who had ties with the ruling class in the local and central governments. These feudal chiefs had special privileges and powers which no ruler could ignore. This also led to the limited authority of the kings. The rulers were under the obligation to the rule according to the holy Shastras and Smritis, could not enact or amend the laws at will. Thus, rulers of this period were basically feudal lords with limited overall power. The basis of the sovereignty during this period was mixture of divine right theory and contract theory. On one hand, the authors of the treatise on polity regarded the ruler as an incarnation of Lord Vishnu. On the other hand, they also held that it were the people who conferred sovereignty on the ruler. So, the natural duty of the ruler was to rule in the interest of the people, while the duty of the people was to be loyal to him. तो फ्यूडलिज्म जो था वो उस टाइम पे काफ़ी चला हुआ था. राजा जो थे वो अपने काम काज के लिए लोगों को अपने अंडर रखता था और भरोसे में उन्हें क्या देता था, पैसे वगैरह देता था और ये आश्वासन देता था कि उनकी फैमिली की रक्षा जो है वो राजा द्वारा या जो सिपाही हैं या दूसरे लोग हैं उनके द्वारा की जाएगी. अब राजा खुद से शासन नहीं करता था, उसके आसपास उसके चीफ वगैरह हुआ करते थे जिनसे सलाह मशवरा करके वो अपना राज्य चलाता था. A king was usually succeeded by his elder son. If a king died without an heir, the kingdom was passed to the head of the next king to the ruling dynasty. There was little scope for disputed succession in this period. The powers of the king were limited in practice due to privileges and prerogatives of the feudal lords. Since he had the theoretical ownership of the land, the feudal lords needed his recognition, but then this prerogative of the kings was limited as the feudal lords had hereditary rights. The king was helped in the administration by a council of ministers besides crown prince. The chief priests and the court astrologers were recruited from Brahmin, while all over posts were held by feudal lords. They usually belonged to Kshatriya caste. Shudras or lower caste had no place in the political setup of the king. बच्चों जब एक राजा मर जाता था या किसी वजह से उसकी मृत्यु हो जाती थी तो उसका जो एल्डर सन होता था वो उसकी गद्दी को संभालता था. अगर किसी राजा का कोई वारिस नहीं होता था तो कोई दूसरे राजा को उसका राज्य जो है वो सौंप दिया जाता था. अब राजा जो होता था वो अपनी हेल्प लेता था एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन जो उसका स्टाफ होता था उसके थ्रू. अब उसका जो स्टाफ था उसमें सबसे ऊपर जो आते थे वो ब्राह्मण्स वगैरह आते थे, प्रिस्ट वगैरह आते थे जो पूजा पाठ वगैरह किया करते थे, साथ ही साथ उसको सलाह वगैरह दिया करते थे. इसके बाद क्षत्रिय आते थे जो सोल्जर्स वगैरह कहलाते थे और शूद्रा और जो लोअर कास्ट होते थे वो बाकी के छोटे मोटे कामों के लिए रखे गए थे. रीजन्स एंड एम्पायर. लार्ज स्टेट्स लाइक दोज ऑफ चोलास, तुगलक्स और मुगल्स encompassed many regions. Ghiyasuddin Balban 1266 to 87 explained that he was the ruler of a vast empire that stretched from Bengal, Goda in the east to Ghazni, Gajana in Afghanistan in the west and included all of South India, Dravida. People of different regions, Gauda, Andhra, Kerala, Karnataka, Maharashtra and Gujarat apparently fled before his armies. Historians regarded these as exaggerated claims of the conquest. At the same time, they tried to understand why rulers kept claiming to have control over different parts of the subcontinent. By 700, many regions already possessed distinct geographical dimensions and their own language and cultural characteristics. They were also associated with specific ruling dynasties. There was considerable conflict between these states. Muslim rules started in some part of northern India in the 13th century when the Delhi Sultanate was established in 1206 CE. During the reign of Alauddin Khilji and Muhammad bin Tughlaq, the Delhi Sultanate ruled the major part of northern India in the early 14th century and raids were conducted into southern India. After the death of Muhammad bin Tughlaq, the Delhi Sultanate declined and its territories were confined to some parts of the Indo-Gangetic plains. The 15th century saw the emergence of several powerful Hindu kingdoms like the Vijayanagar Empire in South India, the Gajpati Kingdom in Eastern India and Rajput kingdoms in northwestern India. The northern Deccan was ruled by the Bahmani Sultanate and parts of the Indo-Gangetic plains were still ruled by the Delhi Sultanate. Mughal rule came from Central Asia to cover most of the northern part of the subcontinent in the 16th century. Mughal rulers introduced Central Asian art and architecture in India. In addition to the Mughals and various Rajput kingdoms, several independent Hindu states such as the Vijayanagar Empire, the Maratha Empire, Eastern Ganga Empire and the Ahom Kingdom flourished contemporaneously in southern, western, eastern and northeastern India respectively. The Mughal Empire suffered a gradual decline in the early 18th century, which provided opportunities for the Maratha Empire to exercise control over large areas in the subcontinent. तो बच्चों उस टाइम पे अलग अलग राज्यों में अलग अलग राजा जो थे वो राज किया करते थे. थोड़े टाइम तक मुगल्स ने राज किया, फिर थोड़े टाइम बाद जो हिंदू राजा हुआ करते थे उन्होंने राज किया और अलग अलग राज्य में उनके अलग अलग रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशन वगैरह चलते थे. अलग अलग उनकी नीतियाँ हुआ करती थी, अलग अलग उनके तरीके हुआ करते थे राज चलाने के लिए. अब वो लोग अपने स्टेट के साथ साथ दूसरे स्टेट को भी कॉन्कर करने के लिए आपस में क्या करते रहते थे, युद्ध वगैरह करते रहते थे. Old and new religions. The 1,000 years of history that we are exploring witnessed major developments in the religious tradition. People's belief in the divine was sometimes deeply personal, but more usually it was collective. Collective beliefs in a supernatural agency, i.e. religion, was often closely connected with the social and economic organization of local communities. As the social worlds of these groups altered, so too did their beliefs. It was during this period that the important changes occurred in what we call Hinduism today. These included the worship of new deities, the construction of temples by royalty, and the growing importance of Brahmanas, the priests, as dominant groups in society. Their knowledge of Sanskrit texts earned the Brahmanas a lot of respect in the society. Their dominant position was consolidated by the support of their patrons and new rulers searching for prestige. One of the major development was the emergence of the idea of bhakti, of a loving personal deity that devotees could reach without the aid of priest or elaborate rituals. अब उस जमाने के जो राजा हुआ करते थे उनका भक्ति वगैरह में बहुत ध्यान हुआ करता था, काफ़ी रिलीजियस वो लोग हुआ करते थे और इस चक्कर में उन्होंने काफ़ी सारे मंदिर भी बनाए थे और उन मंदिरों में उन्होंने बहुत सारे प्रिस्ट जो ब्राह्मण्स हुआ करते थे, पंडित हुआ करते थे, वो उन्होंने अपॉइंट भी किए थे. हिस्टोरिकल ट्रेंड्स. The trends and events in India in the medieval period were influenced by the event that took place both outside and within the boundaries of India. The events of far-reaching consequences outside the boundaries of India include the rise of Islam, The religion of Islam was founded by Muhammad ibn Abdullah, later reverently called Prophet Muhammad, born in AD 570. In AD 622, he had fled to Mecca and founded the new religion. The year 622 in Islam is known as Hijra and is the first year of Islamic calendar. After the death of Prophet Muhammad, Islam spread far and wide. His successor, known as Caliph, conducted many military conquests and conquered large area which included Jordan, Lebanon, Palestine, Syria, Turkey, Iran, Iraq, Sindh and even Egypt. In all these countries, Islam spread quite fast. This was the time when the other Arab took steps to promote trade. In the course of trade, they came into contact with other culture of the world. The trade, beside helping in the consolidation of political powers, also led to promotion of art, architecture and literature. Arab before founding of Islam were divided into many different tribal communities. After the spread of Islam, they had rich culture and on the foundation of which they built their own rich civilization. They achieved great power and emerged as a united force under the banner of Islam. The appeal of Islam was such that even the Turks and Mongols converted to Islam in the course of time. Islam also influenced the events in India for the major part of the medieval period. The caliphs were succeeded by Umayyad, who ruled from the city of Damascus. Later came Abbasids, who ruled from Baghdad and sustained Islamic faith throughout the world. तो बच्चों 622 के आसपास इस्लाम धर्म की भी खोज की गई थी प्रॉफिट मोहम्मद के थ्रू। उनके मरने के बाद जो खलीफ्स थे उन्होंने उनका ज़िम्मा जो था वो संभाला और उन्होंने इसका प्रचार प्रसार बाकी की कंट्रीज़ में भी किया। इवन जो इंडिया में काफ़ी सारे मुग़ल जितने भी राजा हुआ करते थे उन्होंने भी इस्लाम धर्म को अपनाया और इसके लिए उन्होंने काफ़ी मकबरे वगैरह भी बनाए। नाउ कीवर्ड्स: लिटरेसी, कंपिटेंस और knowledge in a specified area. Archaeological, related to or dealing with or devoted to archaeology. Let's recapitulate. Travelers from abroad gives us interesting information regarding the political, social and economic conditions in medieval India. The coins of Muhammad bin Tughlaq have revealed much about his reign and his kingdom. Inscriptions are of greater use for the pre-Mughal rather than the Mughal period. Monuments testify to the growth of material prosperity and the development of culture. So children, I hope you understood the chapter very well. Now you can revise the chapter and practice the given exercise by yourself.